It's hump day, but let's hope this isn't the peak of the hump for silver prices. I'll explain what happened with the price of silver rising today, as well as the great surprise that I just witnessed, which has me perplexed as to why the price of silver has risen. Let's talk about it while we explore. The price of silver rose significantly earlier in the day. It has given back some of its gains, but there are a number of factors at work here that we will discuss shortly. But first, I'd like to remind you that Summit Metals is available whenever you need to buy or sell silver, or a portion of it. I'm a firm believer in having diamond fists to protect a core silver stack, but I understand if there are reasons to sell. However, I believe it is a good idea to get into the silver market and have a small amount in your portfolio as prices fluctuate, as well as to buy on dips. So, check them out in the description below and see for yourself how great their customer service is. On Wednesday, silver rose for the second day in a row, but it is now the third day that we will close above $50 per ounce. We experienced intra-week highs. Silver did, in fact, rise above $52, but it also surpassed $51.50. The highest we saw today was $52.50. We saw a pretty dramatic move earlier in the day before pulling back. It is still up 0.86%, up 0.44 to $51.18, but it is interesting to note that if we reach $52 again, we will be approaching a triple top. If we can reach $54 by the end of the week, 63% of those who participated in my poll on my Sunday Night Market Watch live stream believe we'll make it. And I'll tell you what, when we saw $50.50, we were confident we could get there. The low for today was $50.32. Hanging above $50 is a victory, especially if it can be sustained for 2 more days. I believe this will bolster the argument that we may see a new support level for silver in the $50 range, but I'm not ready to make that call just yet, and I may not even be prepared to do so by the end of the week. More on that in another video. However, amid the global equity market sell-off, risk aversion drives demand for safe haven assets such as precious metals. Investor concerns about an AI bubble have weighed on equity indexes around the world, pushing traders towards safe assets in recent sessions. Furthermore, U.S. labor figures disappointed on Tuesday, fueling expectations of a December Fed rate cut, which boosted silver prices. This was obviously reported prior to the significant change that we are seeing in the Fed Watch tool. This is what shocked me. Silver prices are still rising, and this could be the start of a decline, with a loss of the gains we saw at 52.51. Because this is where the markets are right now, just before they close. Yesterday, we peaked at 50.1% chance of another rate cut in December. That just edged out the 50-50 chance. Now it has a 33.6% chance. So based on this poll, the shift appears to have changed. There has been a significant change in sentiment, with only a 33.6% chance of a rate cut in December. With a 66.4% chance that rates will remain unchanged, the Fed will take a pause. We now know that this is all temporary, at least until the middle of next year, when Trump appoints a new Fed chairman. Nonetheless, this is an intriguing dynamic and a shift in late trading behavior. Silver is gaining momentum after a 2.5% rally over the last 2 days. On November 17th and 18th, price action breached the $51.25 resistance area, and now we're on the 19th, and it's back down to $51.26. It is a 1% increase so far today, just before these markets close, and the 4-hour relative strength index is consolidating above 50, indicating that the bulls are gaining control. If the pair manages to stay above the mentioned 51.25 level, which is currently 51.26, bulls will likely test the November 13th low at $50.10. Yes, who would have predicted that a low would be 52.10? Crazy. That puts it on track for the November 14th high of 53.65, as well as long-term highs ranging from 54.60 to $54.80. Intraday support is at $50.70, closing the gap to the trendline support from the late October lows. Now, those lows are hovering around $49.60, with Tuesday's low near $49.35. So that's what we're looking at from a technical standpoint, as we're now above the 50-hour-25 level, just above the asking price. But of course, I believe most technical analysis is done in the bid price, but that's a $0.12 difference that has remained unchanged, indicating at least some stability there, even with backwardation in effect. But as markets continue to move, it's fascinating to see silver remain relatively strong above the critical $50 mark. and it will be very interesting to see if the majority of my audience was correct in predicting a third top for silver above $54 by the end of this week. And honestly, $54.50 is the absolute top, and who knows, we might get there and do something amazing. But what caused this downturn? I'm not sure how quickly this poll changed in the FedWatch tool, but something must have happened. Perhaps some economic data that I am missing occurred here in late trading, as it has now decreased even more. It is now a 33.4% chance, even though the silver price is still rising. It's up 1.04% to $51.27. So now I'm hoping that if silver can remain above 51.25 by the close minutes from now, it will be an even bigger victory. But what surprises me the most is the FedWatch tool and the shift in sentiment, with 66.6% of poll participants now believing rates will remain unchanged. That is an evil thing. According to Trump, given that number, that is exactly where we are right now. So the numbers continue to move in this direction, and there is a lot of dynamic activity going on with silver right now, but it's pretty amazing and wild to watch as it moves. Now, one thing I'm keeping an eye on is the other economic data that will be coming in, as much of it will undoubtedly be delayed. But as new data and information emerge, and even as the FedWatch tool and sentiment shift, silver remains resilient, recovering some of the pullbacks that we saw from that session high. And the $2.20 difference between the high and low today represents a significant movement in the silver price, as gold is only slightly rising. It was down to $4,055 earlier in the day, but is now at $4,075.80, up $740. This has reduced the gold-to ratio to less than 80.1. That is good news. The gold-silver ratio is less than 80-1. That's something else we can celebrate. And who knows, if this trend continues, 80-1 may not visit us again soon. Now, I did some analysis on some guesses about what might happen when we see consolidation, and I don't believe we're quite there yet. There is still a lot of information to digest. There is still a lot of geopolitics in play. I mean, I've heard nothing about the unrest in Mexico. Of course, there is a possibility of some peace between Russia and Ukraine. There is speculation that the United States will propose a deal there, as well as the possibility of war with Venezuela. So there is a lot of dynamic information coming out, as well as events that will have an impact on the price of silver and gold. Nonetheless, that is what we are watching. We'll see how this all plays out, and I believe that as we continue to digest information and see what comes next, the fact that silver is still trading above $50 is truly amazing. However, consolidation will occur, including long-term consolidation, market normalcy, supply chains, and so on. Even though silver is now classified as a strategic metal or a critical mineral according to the USGS, eventually there will be a consolidation. What will it look like? Well, as I previously stated, and some people laughed at me at $40 per ounce, I believe that is the support level, and it could fall within that range or slightly higher. But again, we see that the more days it stays above $50 per ounce, the better off silver will be overall, bolstering that $40 or $45 mark. I believe the absolute bottom is currently $40, which is where it could consolidate. I don't see it dropping below that now. Of course, anything is possible. However, keep in mind that some people laughed at my $40 offer. Remember what we've seen before. Silver gets slammed hard when it falls dramatically and flows right through previous support levels. You know, those are soft support levels that we see. We have seen it, and I've seen this happen numerous times. And I'm telling you folks, there's a victory at $40 silver at this point, and we're currently $10, $11 above that. However, it only takes a few days of a massacre for silver's price to fall back to that level. Please keep that in mind. I like to be realistic about metal in general. So when I talk about possibilities, it is a real possibility in the future, even if we see a triple top for silver, which to be honest is uncharted territory in many ways in terms of nominal price. Remember, the only price we're looking for to go above is the adjusted price for inflation, which is currently $73. We'll exclude the 1980 price because it was such an outlier. It should not even be considered. But now you have it. So that's your silver market report for today. We're having a fantastic ride today. We are halfway through the week. It will be interesting to see what happens with silver tomorrow and Friday. We'll keep an eye on this channel. If you found this information informative, insightful, and educational, I hope you will consider clicking the thumbs up button below and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. So, with that said, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and I encourage you to rate and have diamond hands, diamond fists to hold your silver tight. Yes, indeed.